image quality just got crazy.
That is insane.
Bro. Insane low light capability.
Biggest improvement I've ever seen.
I would describe as impossible.
Welcome back to Re-Review, where we watch all the reviews so you don't have to. Today we're diving deep into the Insta360 X5. Is this the 360 camera that finally breaks into the mainstream? Let's find out.
So, the entire purpose of a 360-degree camera is, unlike shooting with your phone, where you have to focus on what you're capturing, and if you miss something, then too bad. This captures a 360-degree sphere of video so that you never miss anything, and you can decide later what bits you want to focus on while being able to make this selfie stick completely disappear from your footage.
So it's ideal if you're shooting by yourself, or you just want some unique perspectives for your B-roll shots, or maybe even if you don't know what you want to film and just therefore want to capture everything and figure it out afterwards. That's the flexibility you get with this. You can reframe, crop, and pick your aspect ratio all after the fact.
360 cameras enable a style of cinematography that I would describe as impossible. Meaning, before this 360 camera existed, this shot right here, this shot would be impossible. Impossible! I mean, maybe with a drone, but most likely impossible.
In case you're new to this type of technology, 360-degree cameras like this shoot a literal 360-degree field of view using these two cameras and lenses on either side, and it stitches this footage together into one large file. Now, because you're recording everything in every direction all at once, this camera lets you frame your shot in post after the fact.
That ability to reframe later is huge, but past 360 cameras often meant sacrificing image quality. Is that still the case with the X5?
Few things that stand out about this camera. One, it has a much larger sensor, so that should give us better image quality across the board, dynamic range and low light. So this is the X4, which has half-inch sensors in here, and now it's a 1/1.28.
Each camera on the X5 has a 144% larger sensor than the already 9 out of 10 rated X4 camera from just last year, which is such a boost to video quality that the second you start recording with the thing, it's like you're shooting with 4 different cameras simultaneously. Because you're capturing all angles at once, and now in such high resolution, 8K.
On top of that, we get faster image processing with the new 5nm AI chip and 2 Pro imaging chips and a new algorithm. It's actually insane. The 8K footage, the dynamic range, the detail, the slow motion, especially 4K 120 frames per second. I used to have to sacrifice image quality to use 360 cameras to get that coolest angle ever. And now I feel like the X5 rivals any action camera on the market right now.
I'm really liking those vibrant colors. Like, see those X5 blue skies? They have a bit more punch than the X4. Plus the X5 has that nice looking dynamic range.
Now, the jump to 8K with last year's X4 doesn't mean that you're going to export and share 8K files because they would be huge. The whole point of this high resolution, recording in 8K means you've got more resolution to play with when you're cropping and reframing.
This camera is actually creating 11K footage that is then downsampled to 8K 30, which means that we are getting tons and tons of detail in the image. When you look at footage of the X4 next to the X5, like just side by side the footage, you can see how much of a jump it is to go from half-inch sensors to 1/1.28-inch sensors.
Okay, so daylight quality and the benefit of 8K for reframing seem clear, but the real test for action cams is often low light.
The feature that stood out the most is definitely the new low light mode. So this now has pure video mode from the Ace Pro 2. Now that as an action camera has the best in terms of low light until this arrived. This actually has a larger sensor, and for me this has better low light capabilities. And it was just absolutely outstanding.
If I'm shooting low light 360-degree videos, that's when you see the X5 videos will be significantly sharper, brighter, and less noisy, and just more lively than footage shot with the Insta360 X4.
Pure video is simply a night mode, much like DJI's super night mode. And it allows you to get footage that you might actually use at night, which is something you could never say of footage taken at night with the X4.
But that larger image sensor and the more powerful processing in the new camera is really obvious when you look at this night footage. With both in standard 8K mode, the X5 is much better than the X4. Even trying to wring the best out of the older camera though, look at the X5 in the 8K pure video mode.
That low light capability definitely is a lot better on the X5 than it was here on the smaller censored X4.
One of the biggest anxieties with 360 cameras has always been those exposed fragile lenses. Insta360 seems to have tackled this head on.
One of the key bits of feedback that Insta360 have been getting over the years is lenses are fragile. This, I think, is the ultimate solution. With the X5, you can actually just swap out the lens entirely if anything happens, and you can do it yourself.
See, the problem with Insta360s in the past has been they're incredible, but if you scratch the lenses, that's game over. Luckily, we have a fix now. Ingenious. Thank you, Insta360, for fixing this. This was like my biggest pain point on these cameras. I kid you not.
If you scrape up the lens, we can replace it ourselves.
Which means I could take my camera just around anywhere without worrying about scratching it up.
You're not afraid to use it.
I'm not afraid to use it, exactly.
Here is the actual tool that you need. So I can take this little wrench, line it up with that wibbly wobbliness, and just turn. And this is the actual lens unit itself that I'm replacing. And here is the crazy part, probably the biggest deal. This lens replacement kit is $30.
So you can just, on the fly, on location, take the lens off, replace it, back in the game, you're shooting again. And that's gotta be probably one of the coolest features I've seen any camera brand do.
That replaceable lens is huge, but what about the sound coming out of this thing?
We have a new microphone module and new microphone algorithms for even better wind reduction. See on the X4, that tiny, tiny little hole, that's the microphone, and this giant screen on the X5, that's the new microphone. All right, let's do a little audio comparison between the Insta360 X4 and the Insta360 X5.
Certain microphones aren't designed to be able to block out wind noise. The X5 is designed with all of this stuff in mind, so it's just naturally going to sound a lot better.
It's partly down to software, but it's mostly just that Insta have had the space here to put in a proper physical multi-layer steel mesh wind guard.
This is audio on the new X5. This is audio on the X4. This is audio on the GoPro. And this is audio on the DJI. The X5 has a new and improved wind guard built in, plus improved audio algorithm, which I think is actually helping out. I think that's a big win, as those onboard microphones in the years past were a bit junky.
Beyond the core specs, Insta360 packed the X5 with features aimed at making shooting and editing easier.
So one new thing they've added, which I think makes things a lot easier on this front, is InstaFrame mode. So the X5, though, can shoot what you're seeing right now, which is both types of video at the same time, having both the ability to tune everything afterwards, but also this instant, immediately ready to post video at the same time.
Basically, it's going to record a flat video and 360 video file for you at the same time. There's also selfie view, which basically just means if you see that green tracker, whichever way you rotate around to the subject that's closest to the camera, it's going to automatically reframe and track this subject face, which is really cool.
It's subject tracking, but instead of using a gimbal, it uses its 360-degree filming abilities.
But the thing is, afterwards, I had hours and hours of footage to reframe. But with this, I used the app, which now has this button on there where basically it's like an AI selfie tracking mode. It's not 100% perfect where it like crops his head off there for a second, but he gets back on the bike and continues to track him. And this specific clip, I think, was like a 90-minute clip, and the amount of time it took me to reframe it was just that one button, and then I just...
When it comes down to stabilization, we do have the FlowState, or Insta360's FlowState stabilization, and the X5 as well as the X4 both have those. So when it comes down to stabilized footage, they both do a really good job.
New battery. The X4 has 135 minutes of battery life, which has always been like absurd battery life for an action camera that is shooting 2 minutes. But the X5 now has 185 minutes of battery life. But the cool thing is too, the quick charging. So this thing fast charges from 0 to 80% in 20 minutes.
Now, one wishlist item I found on the X5 is that it is nearing the edge of overcomplicating in the camera with lots of settings and modes and customizations, and I can find it a bit clunky or cumbersome when trying to choose the right mode or the right direction, reframing. And then the same also goes with their new mobile app. I think they did a rehaul on their design, and honestly, I'm sorry, I just don't like it. Usually their mobile app is awesome to use, but now that these new controls, it just feels clunky, cumbersome.
Some great new workflow features, but maybe a learning curve with the app. How does the X5 stack up against the competition?
Check out the difference between the X5 and the X4 in this footage. This is with both cameras in standard 8K mode, but look how much better the X5 handles high contrast. Now that was one of my problems with the X4, in that it would sometimes burn scenes out. The larger image sensor in the X5 is obviously helping us. That's much less of an issue now.
Now for a little low light test. The X5 has this new pure video mode. The X4 basically recommends switching to 5.7K here, and the final results just speak for themselves. The DJI just looks incredible, and then I'd vote the X5 in maybe second place. I can definitely notice it has less digital noise versus last year's X4, plus its image clarity and exposure is slightly brighter, which is nice, all while the poor GoPro is just in a far last place.
All right, guys, let's do a little video test here. I am recording on my ultra wide lens on my iPhone 16 Pro. And this is the Insta360. Which one of these two cameras do you think looks the best? Now, I think it's pretty clear that the dedicated cameras on the new iPhone do look better than recording in 360 degrees with the X5 and then cropping into a very small portion of the frame. But the X5 definitely held its own. And when it comes to audio, I was definitely expecting the iPhone to win, but I think I actually prefer the sound out of the X5.
That's why I wanted to compare these cameras. So here it is.
I have a death grip on these cameras right now.
And I bet you can spot the difference between them really quickly. The lenses of these systems are incredibly different. You'll notice that the Osmo is a much tighter frame, whereas the Insta360 has that quintessential action cam look. It's a wide lens, not a lot of depth of field. And then when it comes to color, the Osmo Pocket 3 is much more muted, whereas the Insta360 has that classic high contrast HDR look.
So if you have an X4 and you're thinking, should I upgrade? What are the biggest upgrades? Well, it's got to be that low light quality. The low light on here is the biggest advantage. The X4 was not good in low light. Now on here, this is the best in terms of low light out of any action camera. If it was to me, I would take this and use this over a DJI Action 5 Pro, a GoPro, the Ace Pro 2. I would just take this. This covers like every aspect now.
Okay, so clear advantages over the X4, especially in low light and competitive with other action cams while offering unique 360X benefits. Let's see how people are using this thing.
When you think action cams, typically you're going to get snowboarding, skiing, maybe some swimming, typical action sports. But I thought, you know what we could do? What we could do on this channel to make it a little different, a little more exciting is strap that thing to a bucking bronco.
This is one of the tools that I love to use every now and then. This thing is a drone inside a stick. You can basically get super creative drone-like shots with this. Let me show you. Now, where this is most useful is in places where you can't fly a drone legally.
If you're doing some sort of extreme sports, this camera's gonna capture every second of it and it's going to look amazing. But if you just wanna film yourself walking around outside, I might suggest saving your money.
Well, I think these are fantastic travel cameras. If you're on holiday with your family on vacations, you literally just, with these, you can just hit record and it's going to record everything for you. And then later on, when you get home or when you get back to the hotel, you can look and then you're like the director. You can choose exactly what you want in that frame.
First and foremost is the selfie stick. This thing is king. If you could only have one accessory for your X5, it is 100% the invisible selfie stick.
The other issue I have is the selfie stick. In order to get this shot, you have to have a selfie stick. Without it, the selfie stick, it's great. It's just cumbersome. Of all the new tech, of all the new features of the X5, this is my favorite. The folding selfie stick.
All right, summing up the Insta360 X5. The consensus is pretty clear. This is a significant upgrade, especially if you're coming from an older model like the X2 or X3. The biggest wins are undoubtedly the massive improvement in image quality, particularly in challenging low light thanks to the larger sensors and pure video mode. And the user-replaceable lenses are a game changer, removing a major point of anxiety and cost for users who push their gear hard. Audio seems improved too, especially wind reduction. Features like InstaFrame and the refined AI tracking genuinely help streamline the sometimes complex 360 workflow, making it easier to get usable footage quickly. Battery life gets a nice boost with faster charging too. However, it's not perfect. Some reviewers noted the app redesign feels clunky, and while InstaFrame is great, it's limited to 1080p for the flat output. The price is substantial, making it a considered purchase. And if you already own the X4, the jump might feel more incremental unless low light or lens durability are your primary concerns. Also, remember those X4 batteries and lens guards won't fit the X5. So, the recommendation? If you want the absolute best consumer 360 camera right now, especially for low light, and value the peace of mind of replaceable lenses, the X5 is it. It enables incredibly creative shots you simply can't get otherwise. If you're happy with your X4's daylight performance and workflow, you might hold off. But for everyone else looking to get into high-quality 360 or upgrade from an older model, the X5 looks like the new benchmark. That's it for our ultimate roundup review of the Insta360 X5. Please find links to full videos below and subscribe for more re-reviews where we watch all the reviews so you don't have to.